Okay, well, let's dive in. Let's start off with, my name is Rob Shank. I'm co-founder of MyWorkDrive. MyWorkDrive is a new paradigm remote work solution that streamlines access to work files, enabling road warriors and telecommuters to quickly, easily, and securely work while on the go. Before we dive in, just a few housekeeping notes. The webinar will be recorded if you'd like to review some of the information later at your convenience. And we're happy to take questions during the webinar, so we'd like to make this as collaborative as possible, and we'll be sure to save some time for question and answer at the end. So I'd like to take a minute to introduce my WorkDrive co-founder, Dan Gordon. Dan has a deep IT background with more than 25 years of consulting experience. Dan was previously responsible for managing network infrastructure for both UC Berkeley as well as San Francisco General Hospital.
Thanks, Rob. This is Dan Gordon, and I'd like to introduce Rob, who has 20 years of consulting and networking experience. Rob actually began his career with Ziff Davis Publishing and worked doing comparative analysis and testing for Ziff Davis Lab with computer technical magazines, including PC Magazine, Computer Shopper, eWeek, and others, and he's had over 200 published articles. And this is before setting up Intivix and founding that, which has been a successful IT consulting practice that we're both have been running and is now in its 21st year. And it's through his direct experience that we've shared it with Intivix and its client base that we formed the genesis of the idea for MyWorkDrive.
Great, thanks, Dan. So let's just dive into the agenda for today. So we're going to talk about who is MyWorkDrive, just how the company started. We'll discuss what the product is, an overview of the product goals, the problem that we solve, and its unique features. We'll dive into the new feature that we're really excited about, which is native Office 365 integration and co-editing, which we'll show a demo of that a little bit later. We'll also dive into a demo of the overall product, so you can see the product in action and see how productive you can help your clients and end users become. And we'll also review some of the security protections found in MyWorkDrive, ways that the product can help prevent data leakage, and some enterprise-ready integrations that will reduce your risk exposure. Who is MyWorkDrive? So as Dan mentioned earlier, the genesis of MyWorkDrive came from years of direct experience supporting, but mainly listening, I think, to the Intivix client base. So many companies have kind of a heavy infrastructure footprint and are looking for ways to kind of reduce their costs of supporting their end users while still providing an intuitive kind of cloud-like type experience, which is what MyWorkDrive is going to be able to provide. So let's talk about, as I mentioned, the reason we developed MyWorkDrive is that as an IT consulting company, we've supported, a wide gamut of remote access solutions: IPsec VPNs, SSL VPN, PPTP, L2TP, sync and share products, which have some sort of agent that gets installed to connected devices, to even public cloud solutions. But they've all had, frankly, they've all had support issues and have caused, end user frustrations. And we figured, there's got to be a better way, a different way of handling this problem. For example, with VPN, it can be challenging managing client installs, desire for some users to be able to do work without their laptop all the time, issues around security, ransomware infections. In a VPN, typically, if you're like most small and medium businesses and some enterprises even, VPN tunnels can be open, wide open to a file server, which is, as you know, not a great idea. A lot of people don't lock down to specific servers and specific ports. And these days, with the scourge of ransomware and related kind of virus infections, it's a very scary propositions these days. And for some clients, whole hog adoption of public cloud file storage isn't really an option. There's regulatory concerns, even with small businesses, many of which that Intivix has supported over the years. They have many terabytes of information. It's not uncommon for even a small 50-person architecture firm to have 10 terabytes of data, and putting that large amount of data size into the cloud, and have it reliably sync up and down is pretty unwieldy, and bandwidth hasn't been it hasn't improved enough to that for some of those clients, or been cost effective. And so from an IT standpoint, just managing that infrastructure can be kind of a heavy support cost. You also factor in frustrated users, laptops, sync, fills up. Enterprise, I think, actually is looking at this as a great option, mainly for reducing support costs, while also improving some security at the same time, which we'll go into a bit. MyWorkDrive, so just to be clear, it's basically fast and easy, secure remote access to your organization's files using your own file server storage, with no security worries about data being either uploaded into the cloud nor synced down to remote computers, remote laptops, and things like that. It is not a synchronization solution. It's not a VPN solution, nor is it a cloud storage solution. So we're in a kind of a unique niche, in our opinion. And one of the killer features I think that we're really proud of that's going to be, that is now at this point live with our version 2.2 release, is our Office online collaboration function. So MyWorkDrive at this point is the only product on the market that allows you to edit documents in Microsoft Online while in a browser natively, edit those files directly, and save them right back to the local file server that is under IT's control. Really excited about that. We're going to be going ahead and showing that in a bit. So with that, why don't we dive into a demo, and I will go ahead and give Change Presenter over to Dan, and you can go ahead and drive it.
Cool, thanks Rob. I think everyone should be able to see my screen here. I'm going to actually jump right in, and we'll go back in a second and actually log on to the web client, as well as kind of show the MapDrive client and some of the other features that we're going to demo. But actually you can see here right now I've got two browser screens open, one's with one user and one's with another. And you can see as I'm editing here, I'm actually able to see the changes that the other user is making. One is logged on as LAN ADM, the other one is logged on as demo. So basically two users can be in here and collaborate on documents in real time. And you can see up at the top that on both cases they're both saved to MyWorkDrive. So this is internally shared by a link, or both going into the web client and being able to edit those documents. So they're able to, you do this on Office documents like PowerPoint, Excel, and Word. So that basically is kind of how that works. Let me switch now to the regular just logging on in general. So here you'll see our main login page. Now this is one of the ways that users can access their files, which is using a web browser. We also have a MapDrive client, and we also have options for mobile apps too. So what the administrator here has done is this interface is giving the user rights to be able to go in and access files, kind of like in the old days where you would use Outlook Web Access. Even notice the look here, you've got log on versus public versus private computer. The administrator has said, well, I don't really want users doing anything more than 500 megabytes. We also support multiple languages here, so if you've got some foreign users or other languages, the users can set whatever their preferred language is for this client. Now I'm going to go ahead and log on as me because I've enabled a two-factor authentication using our new option for Duo Security. So in this case, with Duo, you can sign that up. It's very inexpensive. It's very popular in enterprises, and it's an option for enterprise customers. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and just have it send me a push. And at this point, you can't see this, but I've got a little pop-up on my phone. I'm going to go ahead and approve that, and boom, I'm in. And now at this point, I'm able to see the shares that the administrator has made available to me. So one of those shares that he's made available to me is the demo share that we've got here for today. So some of the things that we're able to do, for example, is we can now take and open information, not just within Office Online, but I can also, if I have a full version of Office, I can double click on a document and I can edit it directly as well. So that's a feature that we've had for some time. I can enable editing here when I make the changes to this document. Notice the save button is a little bit different. I can save it and it saves right back to the server. So that's a big deal we found for a lot of customers because we were getting support issues around other products where stuff was being downloaded and left in the desktop or on the C drive or other places that just makes it harder for us to support those users. So that kind of immediately kind of keeps everything again back on the server. We don't store any of the customer's information on any of our stuff. It all stays back on the customer server, and we're just providing access to that. Some of the other things that we're able to do is we can search. So when we developed MyWorkDrive, we really wanted to take advantage of the features that were already in Windows Server. So just think of MyWorkDrive as an add-in for that. So by enabling Windows Search on the Windows Server, I can go in and I can search for documents, and it's using those native features that are already there.
And this also will go ahead and check within the contents of the file itself, right? Not just the name.
That's right. Yeah, I've seen some other kind of solutions, like if other folks have used like SSL VPN or something where it's extremely crude, you can maybe do a little upload and you can download. Maybe you can search by file name even. But again, we're tying ourselves into all the Microsoft stuff as that's already there. So we're very targeted. We're very focused. We're not recreating the wheel. We're just taking that and really extending that and making it a really good user experience, so that it's such that we're trying to turn it into a case where 90% of users, this is all that they're going to need for remote access, right? You won't even have to give them our MapDrive client or a VPN client at all, right? So there's enough functionality here that when people are on the go, they can edit a document online. They can also go in here. Even if you don't have an Office subscription, I can open a document online. Even without a subscription, I can view and I can print. If you do want to edit, then you have to enable that feature in our advanced settings on the MyWorkDrive server, and then the user would need to log on to Office 365, which I already did when I had that staged a little bit earlier.
One question that came in, does it search contents of PDF?
Yes, it does. There's some extra steps. Again tied into the Windows Desktop Search service, which it's Windows Server. It's called Windows Search service. You enable that, and you have to make sure that you install the PDF stuff so that it can pull that. If you've got some older ones, I think on the 2012 R2 it's already built in. So some of the other things that we can do is we can also download multiple files into zip. So I can download this as a zip file, and it'll compress that information and download it as a zip. So if you want to do multiple file downloads, we also support large uploads. So there's really no limit in terms of the size. It's really all about what your infrastructure is, what is your speed. We're using chunked uploads for the browser, so we can get past any limitations within those. Again, here you've got the multiple language options. We can also notice you can preview, PDFs or JPEGs. I can go in here and I can view a PDF in the browser as well. So all that kind of stuff is happening right there. If you've got a lot of photos, you can change your view so that you're seeing that stuff right here. Before you download a large photo, you can change the view and be able to go through a whole folder of photos and kind of see which one it is that you want to download.
One question came in around just if you can discuss AD integration and how that works.
So the way that works is our software works out of the box with Active Directory. In fact, we don't even have any databases at all, and that's what really helps the security, because other products that you look at will install like MySQL or some other third-party database and be storing a whole other set of usernames and passwords in there. And so when you're installing MyWorkDrive, it actually ties right into Active Directory using whatever domain that your member server is that you install MyWorkDrive on. So when the users log on, they're just logging on right into Active Directory. And so there's no recreating users or anything like that. Simply, all you're really doing with MyWorkDrive on the admin panel that gets installed on the server is just saying, hey, what customers or what end users do I want to be able to see what shares? And because we're using native NTFS integration, and we're as well, if the user doesn't have rights to that file, they're not going to get access to it, even if you made that share available to them in the MyWorkDrive interface. So again, if we assumes you already got shares available, people are already mapping drives, everything is already working. We're just tagging right off of that. So there's not a lot of dual administration. If somebody is hired and you've already made a member of this group to be able to have access to like a finance share, for example, that when they log on, they're immediately going to see that. If they're dismissed and their account is disabled, then they won't be able to get in. There's no having to go into the server and set up an additional management of usernames and passwords. Because we simply don't store any of that information. It's all in your Active Directory, and when the user logs on here, the server is actually going in as them with their sessions and accessing files and folders based on their information. There's no caching of passwords or anything like that. It's all session based, and that information so basically there's no way they can get access to something they don't already have, because we don't have any super admin or root admin or any backdoors or anything like that. Because again, we don't keep any of that information in our system. There is no database of users or anything like that.
One other question came in. Does the collaborative editing that you showed in the web browser also work in thick client Office apps in MyWorkDrive?
No, because that's relying on Microsoft's feature within Office 365 to do co-editing, kind of like when you're using Google Docs. That would be kind of like trying to use some sort of a LAN-based full app, and that's a Microsoft limitation. I do need to mention that we are a Microsoft, we are certified for the Office 365 solution. That's why we're able to have that information be shown for our customers and edited there. The other thing that we've added recently for those that have used the product before is we now have an option to be able to share as well internally. So we've got an option here where you click on share, and they'll see, the users will see this link. This link can be copied and pasted into an email and then passed around the office. And the reason this is nice is rather than emailing that file around that's already on the file server, the users can pass it. Notice that this is only available for internal users. It doesn't provide external access. So this assumes that the user already has a username and password in Active Directory, has rights to this file. So those are kind of like the basic features in terms of the web access. The other thing that I'd like to introduce is our MapDrive client. And so we're pretty proud of that as well, and that's really come a long way in a short while. Here is our MapDrive client. So in this case, we have a MapDrive client, and it will follow the same file size limits that the administrator set. So if administrator set 500 megs as the largest file, notice that that's actually applying that information. Notice here in terms of when I logged on. Now in this case, I've saved my information for this demo account. I can choose the drive letter, but we also have a new feature, use my current credentials. So if this is deployed on domain laptops, then this can be flagged and it'll just use your current credentials, kind of like when you're mapping a drive on a regular SMB share in the office. You don't get prompted because it's already using your NTLM authentication to go right in as you, because you're already using a domain account. So at this point, you can see I've got the same information available to me that I had on the web, and I can go in here and I can edit these documents. I can open them up. I can upload, and I can download. Same things that I can do there, but the user then ends up having a MapDrive type of experience. So it gives that gives that people that kind of, especially folks that are on the road a lot, like salespeople or executives, they have one place that they can go to. They don't have to log on to the browser. The browser's still nice if you want to be able to do some searching or if you do online collaboration. So that's why that internal share link, when you're sharing that with a file, will open it up in Office 365 for viewing so that you have the option of being able to co-edit that document as well. Yeah, so we have we do a little bit of caching of directories and listings, but notice there's no syncing involved here. It's also not using WebDev. We have our own API in the back end, so it makes it extremely fast. We've worked with some universities and larger customers that have 5,000 directories, just because they build up things over time, and we've really kind of worked hard to make this a very fast way to peruse those directories and show folder listings extremely quickly. We also, in all of our products, support file locking. So if I open a document here and then someone in the office opens it using a traditional map drive, or somebody else is editing it online, or somebody else is using their app, like a Word app, and also going through the browser, either way, they're going to see the file locking. If two people are using co-edit in Office 365, then two people can be in. But otherwise, you're going to get the traditional message, Dan is editing the file, that kind of thing. So we're really proud of that feature as well. I think that about covers our main new features, Rob.
Okay.
I think we could just kind of go back and summarize a little bit about what it is that we're seeing. So I can give control back to you.
All right.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah, let's just review that, kind of what we just went through and what some of those features are. So again, we've got the MapDrive client, we've got the integrated search, we can edit documents directly right in the browser with your full Office application, and then now we've added the Office 365 online editing as well as co-editing with two people being in documents at the same time. We have internal sharing. We have the ability to download multiple files and folders as zip. We've added the ability to do multiple languages. We also support some of the foreign character sets that a lot of our European customers require. And then for large enterprises, we also have two-factor authentication using Duo security that we've now integrated in there. Some of the things that we have that we didn't talk about today that's been in the product a little while already are the ADFS, single sign-on, and issues like that. I think I've got a question coming in here.
Yeah, a couple questions. Can the drive mapping feature be used both internally and externally, thus removing the need for the internally mapped drives?
Sorry. Yes, actually it can. One of the ways that we've done that as an IT firm in the past is when you think about any website, because what it is it's running within HTTPS as a website. You can redirect that user to go to the internal server when they're in the office just by putting a domain name entry, DNS entry in your internal DNS so that they're redirected. They are going to be going through HTTPS, and so they're going to be going through that versus using an SMB shared drive. Now, I should mention that one of the things that we have on our roadmap, and it's just exploratory at this time because I've seen this myself, is the ability for it to actually fall back to using SMB when they're in the office, as long as it can talk to the local regular file servers, so that it would use that when they're in the office, and when they're outside of the office, it would use our HTTPS and go through the MyWorkDrive server. So we'll see if we're able to do that, but we do support the ability to redirect the URLs to internal, and that's a very easy process. And if you need some assistance with that, just send an email to support at MyWorkDrive. We can send you that information.
Okay. What's the advantage of enabling ADFS?
Well, the advantage for ADFS really comes into play for larger organizations, those that have like an end user portal. We've also like used it even for ourselves with the customers that have Office 365. So by having ADFS turned on, which is actually not as hard as it used to be, especially with now with 2012, you turn on ADFS on your Active Directory. By integrating that with our product, then what ends up happening is if the user is already logged on to Office 365, and you can have a main menu for them of one of those links on that main menu of the apps, just like you have, Outlook or Excel or Word online. You can have MyWorkDrive there, and when they click on it, they're just in. There's no additional prompting for passwords, so that just makes it really easy if you've got, some sort of a portal and you want your users to not be constantly prompted for a lot of passwords, and larger enterprise really like to have that kind of feature.
For quick question on two-factor, didn't see an option for a USB key, like a key fob, I suppose.
Actually, if you go to the duo.com website, they do support that because we're using them, their integration. That would be the option for entering a code, and in that case, it would be one of the YubiKeys, I believe. And if you go to their website, there's instructions on how to order those and how to pick up those. Because we have gotten that question where, hey, what if some folks are out of range, right? And so then they could be carrying that key even if they don't have a cell phone. They can generate that key. Otherwise, they can be using the mobile app as well to generate a key. And they don't need to, so the Duo mobile app, if you have it on your phone, you can generate a key. It does not require any sort of internet or wireless connectivity to do that. That's just like all the two-factor kind of apps like that.
Cool. Any thoughts to being able to parse logon scripts to auto-map a user's network drives during a session?
Actually, we are working on that right now. That's one of the tasks that we have on our roadmap that we're going to be coming up on a screen shortly, along with the idea of being able to fall back to SMB shares. It will be a command line option only, and so that's exactly what you said, which is the ability to put it in a login script and have multiple drive letters going to various shares all within MyWorkDrive.
Cool. Let's review the security of MyWorkDrive. So just to clarify again, your data is remaining under your control. So we're not storing any information, none of your files, none of that is being stored on any MyWorkDrive servers or anything. Everything is being passed and basically remains under your control. We are not storing any username, password information. All accounts are remaining in Active Directory. We're honoring NTFS permissions as they are currently set up. Effectively, we're as secure as your infrastructure is, since we're just basically kind of sitting on top of the Microsoft stack. We have end-to-end SSL encryption, two-factor authentication, and ADFS and single sign-on integration, as we've mentioned before. You want to talk a little bit about maybe a little bit mobile?
Yeah, so we actually are coming out with a mobile client that's going to be coming out shortly. That also has the ability to be able to tie into our API for extremely fast ways to be able to get to files, open them, view them, upload and download like multiple photos for folks that are out in the field, and that'll be coming out for Android and iOS apps. We also support another thing that we have is the ability to enable WebDAV. That can be turned off or on the back end on the admin panel. And with WebDAV, there's a couple of apps that we support that are on our support site that work really well with our product and are extremely fast. One's called WebDAV Navigator, and if you actually go to their website, you'll see they recommend us as a WebDAV server, as well as WebDrive.com also has a really nice iOS app as well.
Okay, let's maybe dive into what we're going to be doing in the short term from a development roadmap. So let me go to the next screen there, and that actually ties into a question that Larry just asked. Can file downloading be prevented by folder or by drive? One of the things we're working on right now is the ability just to start off with is just globally prevent the ability to download and basically force users to only use the browser component. And effectively, it's going to function as almost like a data leak prevention light type of solution, because there will be no downloading. Even like with you think about the other cloud solutions, Box, et cetera, OneDrive. There's an option to download, right? So there's ability or possibility of files being downloaded to local desktops or laptops, and potentially for that information to leak out of the organization. But in this case, by preventing a global download option, and we'll look into allowing it by folder or by drive as well. End users will not have the ability to download files. They'll just be able to just edit directly and save it back to the file server.
Yeah, so like Rob said, the first start with that will be to just globally turn that off, and then the next step will be do it by share, and then user within share. So that's within the next couple of months that we'll be adding that feature. We also have the mobile client that I mentioned. That actually is just about ready to be released, and that'll be showing up in the App Store. And we also have the ability to do public file sharing. So let's talk about that a little more in detail. Why don't we have public file sharing of files that are stored on NTFS? The reason that we decided not to do that, one, we wanted to really stay focused on remote access, easy access, and we felt that there's a ton of solutions. You send it, Dropbox, even GoDaddy has gotten into that game of doing sync and share. So we already have the internal sharing, but there's a lot of option for taking and doing external sharing. If we were to enable external sharing on internal files, we found that there were other vendors that were basically allowing that, but the way that they were doing it is having you create a root account that basically gives that account access to all of your files across all of your shares on all your servers, and typically that would be a domain admin account, which we felt was really an insecure way of doing that, and not something that we wanted to do as an IT consulting firm, having dealt with this kind of security issues for customers of ours. So what we're going to be releasing shortly is integration with OneDrive. That'll be our first public file sharing option, and the way that will work is there'll be a workflow with that where you go to right mouse click instead of saying internal sharing, you say external. And at that point, the file will then be transferred over to OneDrive. It'll create the share there, and then you will manage that file within your OneDrive account. It'll no longer, the original file will stay on the server as always, but you will be making that file available through your OneDrive account to external users and managing it over there. So therefore, we're not having to open up anything to your server, take any risks, or create any sort of super master accounts or anything like that. So that we feel like that is a really good compromise, and with a lot of the folks already having OneDrive, that really makes a whole lot of sense. And we'll be looking at potential other third-party enhancements like that down the road as well. We also will be adding MapDrive client for Macs. We've got that's on the short list. We do support browser already. People on Macs can already edit documents in Office 365 online. There are some MapDrive types of clients that are available through WebDAV as well to be able to access shares already currently, and that information is on our support site. It's what we just talked about earlier, the enterprise scripting option. That question that came up, that's exactly right. We're going to be adding that option. We can pre-stage the URL that would be needed to log into the site, as well as run that quietly in the background, and then have multiple drive letters. And then previous versions. So again, kind of building on the mantra of an add-in to existing stuff that's already there. And this is something right when you see on our support site when you're setting up a server, something that we do as an IT consulting company, we enable shadow copy. In fact, I think our standard is like every hour during business hours. And so we're going to expose that information as a versioning option for end users on a file, just like they can right mouse click on a file in the Office on a map drive. We want to be able to let them be able to go to a previous version, and then that will utilize the stuff that's already there within Windows, right? So we're just exposing that interface, and they'll see whatever it is that you've configured for shadow copy for that particular file server. It will just automatically display there. We also have some UI and UX enhancements coming down. We'll be, making some changes to the web client, giving some folks some different types of experiences, and giving it a little bit more of a modern kind of interface option, and also having the kind of the one we have now, which is very Windows Explorer type focused.
Cool. A couple of questions have come in. Windows 2016 server support?
Yes, actually we already support that. That's already was in version 2.1, and that's available now for installation. The most customers are still routinely using 2012 R2, but we have tested it against 2016, just not as extensively.
Okay, talk about the, does it need to be installed on an Active Directory server? What's a typical, how would a company typically install this?
So an enterprise would typically have a separate virtual machine because of their security requirements. They wouldn't want to put any website on an existing file server. We do, however, support installing it on a file server, even on a domain controller for a really small business. We've done a lot of work to really lock that down and secure that, but we do require Active Directory because kind of as I mentioned earlier, we don't have a separate database for users. We're expecting you to have an Active Directory, and that's what makes it really easy to implement the software, really easy for you to set it up. It takes about 15 minutes. You install it on a clean machine that's a member of the domain, and you've got an IIS website that you're managing and adding shares, and then it's just a matter of how do you want to make that available on the internet.
Cool. Any file size limits or path length limit?
Yeah, unlike SharePoint and some other products, because the files are stored on NTFS, the only limitation is NTFS itself. And we've encountered some customers with some extremely deep file lengths, so we've implemented deep paths within HTTPS URLs that can handle all that. So there really are no limitations. Really, the limitations again are your infrastructure, your NTFS system, because all those files are living there. So we don't have any of those limitations at all.
Okay. What about putting MyWorkDrive in a DMZ?
That would be fine. It would be the standard best practice actually for an enterprise to do something like that. There are some ports, of course, that you would have to open up to allow that member server to be able to talk to the file shares, and that's all standard Microsoft documents that you can pull as well as Active Directory, right? But then you would just put that in the DMZ, allow 443 to that only, and then from that machine there back to the specific domain controllers and file servers it needs to then talk back to.
Okay. One other question around multi-languages. With your multi-language support, how do you deal with international character sets?
That actually has come up recently, and we just added the feature to be able to deal with that. So, we've got some companies in Sweden and Norway and others that use some special characters, and we do now support the ability to display those characters.
Okay. Cool. Let's see. So that pretty much wraps it up. If there's any other further questions, please feel free to. We'll be sticking around for a couple minutes, and happy to answer any further questions that people have. And we'll give it a minute or two and let you guys.
Yeah, otherwise just reach out to us at sales@MyWorkDrive. You can check out the MyWorkDrive.com website. We've got options there for businesses up to 100 that want to do a monthly recurring plan, and then for enterprises you can reach out to us and we'll customize some licensing for you for being able to put this out there for all of your users on your enterprise.
Okay, we'll give it a minute for any other questions. Okay, looks like that's about it for today. So anyways, have a great day. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it. And we'll look forward to speaking with you all soon. Take care.
Yeah, thank you for attending.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.